I'll bet you it was almost hot enough today to fry an egg on the sidewalk.
Were you out there trying, Paul? It's a tough way to make an omelet.
Yeah, that is. Doesn't taste too good either.
As your neighbor's talking, I'm sure.
How hot was it?
90. And that ties the all-time record high for this summer so far.
Great.
I think we're going to do better than that tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow should be one of the 3 or 4 hottest days of this summer. I think a few bank thermometers may be up around 98, 99, and I think officially around 94, 95 at the airport where nobody lives. But that is the...
Except those who are trying to catch planes and miss them, right?
That's right.
And live there for hours on it.
That's right. But a pretty good looking forecast. We should be able to salvage a good chunk of the weekend. And could I interest you in a little bit of frost?
No, and me, probably not the farmers either.
No, well, thankfully there is no frost in our future. Typically the first frost comes right around September the 30th. But would you believe that on this date, this very date back in 1863, there was a scattered frost reported in the Twin Cities. That is very unusual for July. And I can just imagine what they did to the weatherman on this date back in 1863 in the Twin Cities. An ugly thing to consider. Thankfully, no frost in our future. Quite the contrary. Tomorrow, the hottest day probably of the summer so far. We're forecasting highs well up into the 90s, probably mid-90s here in the cities. But as I said before, I wouldn't be shocked to see a few 97s and 98s popping up. Will it last, you ask? No, I answer. A cool front is on the way, just in time for the weekend. Earlier today in the backyard, a high temperature of 90 degrees. A live shot of Lake Fallon in the background from Sky 11 out in St. Paul, where they're enjoying a beautiful afternoon. The morning low 63, no precipitation yet, and there's your sunrise and sunset, 8:59. The day is getting shorter. Mostly sunny at 87 now in the backyard, a southwest wind at 15 miles an hour. The dew point 57 and creeping upward. It's becoming noticeable. The relative humidity 36% and the pressure now beginning to fall. Lows around the nation this morning were basically in the 70s over the deep south, 60s over the upper Midwest, 44 in Eagle, Colorado. This big north-south temperature contrast setting the stage for some pretty strong jet stream winds, upper-level winds. A weak little disturbance embedded in this upper-level wind flow is going to spawn some pretty good thunderstorm activity from late tonight through a good chunk of Saturday as it now looks. 87 now in the cities, 88 in Duluth. Look at the temperatures just to the west. 90 in Fargo, 97 in Pierre, 99 whopping degrees in Williston. This is the air mass which is now wafting eastward, and we should be well up into the 90s tomorrow. 87 right now in the windy city of Chicago. There is a risk of severe weather later tonight across northwestern Minnesota and a good chunk of the Dakotas as a storm over Montana ripples eastward towards Minnesota. Some of the storms could pack hail and damaging winds. The biggest threat coming over northern Minnesota, but here in the Twin Cities we could see a memorable thunderstorm late tonight. And there were plenty of noisy, ugly storms today over the deep south. Some very strong storms near Dallas. Between Dallas and Fort Worth, they packed hail and 40-mile-an-hour winds. It'll be interesting to see if the weather cooperates for the Jackson's Victory Tour tomorrow. There could be some very thundery weather lurking nearby that open stadium. It will be interesting to see what indeed happens. And some serious flooding problems in Las Vegas earlier today from some heavy thunderstorms. Again, those upper-level winds basically blowing from the west to northwest. There's a little wrinkle of cold air right now just north of Montana. It's racing eastward, and it's going to irritate our atmosphere, and the result is going to be a good chance of some thunderstorm activity, especially tomorrow right through midday Saturday. After Saturday afternoon, it looks like a surge of cool, clean air will arrive just in time for Sunday. You can see some of those huge thunderstorms spawning heavy weather from Dallas to about New Orleans. Closer to home, nothing developing yet, but warm fronts tend to strengthen at night, as we all know. And I think you're going to see some pretty big thunderstorms blossoming over northwestern Minnesota and the eastern Dakotas a little bit later on tonight. On the satellite photograph, clouds are already popping up right now across the central Dakotas. And as this weak disturbance approaches from Montana, we can expect a pretty good chance of showers and thunderstorms here tomorrow, right into Saturday. Behind this cool front, a drop in temperature and humidity, and more sunshine for Sunday. Sunday looks like the nicer day of the weekend. Here's the 11 outlook for tonight. No problems for your evening plans. They are not in any grave danger. A beautiful evening, but some thunder after 10 or 11. 64 to 69 for a low. And then tomorrow, hazy sunshine, hot and humid and uncomfortable. A good chance of thunderstorms mainly late in the day. A high in the low to mid-90s for most of us. Here's the 11 outlook for the next couple of days. Clouds, a lingering shower Saturday, 85. Mostly sunny on Sunday, a nicer day with a high of 83. 87 degrees on Monday with lots of sunshine. A pretty decent forecast on the way. Dress conservatively tomorrow, skimpily, because by afternoon you may be shedding most of your clothes with temperatures climbing well up into the 90s. Tonight at 10, we'll tell you about smog in LA, some of the worst in 10 years, and how it may affect athletes competing in the 1984 Summer Olympics. Paul and Anna, that will do it from the stuffy backyard.
Paul, do you have any idea, can you tell now, is that humidity going to stay with us on into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday?
No, it isn't. I think Saturday the humidities will begin to drop off behind the cool front, and Sunday should border on comfortable. Sunday, the better day of the weekend as it now looks for outdoor plans.
All righty, 1 out of 2 is not bad.
No.
All
Thanks,
right,
Paul.
Paul. Thank you.
Okay.
Levels of lead, too hazardous for human exposure, are widespread in...
Oh my goodness. Can I interest you in some hot weather? I think tomorrow